maximum firepower. Brace for impact.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start. Welcome to the Brace for Impact podcast. I'm Luke with Chandler. Today we're going to review our last battle report, talk about the recent Atomic Mass Games Ministravaganza event, and then we're going to review Separatist fleets, discuss potential strengths and weaknesses, and time allowing, top it off with a slight discussion on the situation of 3D printing, especially with Citadel and cults.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, if we've got time, because I know you got a time crunch, we can do it today. Or we can just, we'll just put it to we'll dedicate its own episode. Because a lot of that stuff has been coming up, especially on the Armada Facebook of 3D printed product.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead. Let's move to the first segment, battle report review. Excellent. Recently, we had our 20-second battle report. It was the Tsunami Fleet versus the Diamondback Fleet. We're going to start talking about some of the objective selections, and then we're going to analyze the deployment positions. Chandler, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, so this was the match that we recently submitted to the YouTube channel, and if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, for sure go ahead and take a look. We've got some great battle reports, but this was the Tsunami Fleet, which is a triple ISD Simoon fleet, versus the Diamondback Fleet, which is a TF-1722 focused fleet that's got a lot of small ships, so that we're hopefully
very potent small ships.
Very potent, so we're hopefully throwing a lot of black dice out there. The objectives, because I was first player playing the Separatists, and the triple ISD was the second player. So the objectives were advanced gunnery, contested outpost, and dangerous territory.
And you chose contested outpost.
I chose contested outpost because while that has a greater ceiling for the amount of victory points that you can get for the objective, I felt advanced gunnery was just going to completely destroy me. And I valued knowing where your ISDs were going to be over your ISDs just being able to run over any obstacle they want.
Heard that. So, in hindsight, do you feel like you made the right choice?
Yes. I still
feel
like I made the right choice, yeah. Especially,
I feel like I got so many points.
Yeah, but you got a lot of points, but I think if we were to play that game again with advanced gunnery,
I wouldn't have chosen that one.
No, like if I had chose advanced gunnery, because I wouldn't have chosen dangerous territories. Just you being able to run your ISDs over obstacles and stuff is not good, especially just for pre-deployment, because I can't accurately assess the objectives, or not the objectives. I can't accurately assess the obstacles as blockers. So I would probably choose
only for you,
gunnery
essentially,
and just put it on Kazanti or something.
Interesting.
But even then, it's you would still just get a complete fleet wipe, just because you would just be able to double tap with a Simoon. It's out of the front arc is ridiculous. So I still think that I made the right call, but there were a lot of positioning plays that I could have improved on, and that I will improve on if I were to play this fleet again. It's hard to put a fleet together, play it for the first time, and then be like, I'm going to play it to maximum efficiency this time, and then you play the game and you're like, well, several things went wrong with that plan.
Fair enough. You did mention deployment, so let's talk about deployment a little bit. Definitely from my perspective, I was fine broadcasting what I was going to do. It's a Tsunami Fleet. They're meant to stay together. They're meant to just go straight at you. They are ISDs. They are Simoons. They want you in the front arc. We were playing contested outpost, so definitely very well broadcasted.
Yeah, there was no subterfuge
as far as my intentions are concerned. How do you feel about your deployment?
Okay, so looking at our final deployment positions, there's a couple things that I would have done differently. I would have put both Kazantis right up against player edge, because I think I put one Gazanti at the border of 3, and I put another Gazanti at 2.5. And I think that's too far forward for what I wanted them to do.
And that forward Gazanti ended up messing you up, right? You ended up ramming. I got a lot of points from it.
Well, the Gazanti at the very leftmost part of my positioning, because I had a, right near the edge of the player edge, I had Gazanti kind of in the middle of the deployment zone, a Munificent at 45, and then hard sell, Gazanti, all right up next to each other, forward facing in the middle, and then there's a little space, and then there's another hard sell. Just kind of out on the edge so that it can avoid the debris field. But I was assuming that the Gazantis would go forward, they would get in the shit of it, they'd throw all their dice at you, and then get away. But what ended up happening is they were too forward. They were the only ships you could shoot. So obviously you just shot at them. You killed one, and then the other one.
It took a while, but yes.
It took 3 ISD shots, but it's not like there was anything else to shoot. Is my point. And
precisely,
and I should have put them at the back of as far back as they could go against the player edge, so that at turn 4 or 5, when your ISDs are trying to turn around, that they're running into the Gazantis after they've already done their shots. They've already shot at the hard targets that they can get to, and then the Gazantis are there and then throw all of their dice. Because this fleet, essentially the fun trick of it is the Gazantis out of their side can roll 2 blue and 3 black with TF-1726. That really only ever happened once in the whole game because of the...
Yeah, you definitely didn't get to capitalize on all those points that you spent beefing them up.
And I spent so many points beefing them up, so them not being in the proper position and being able to get that off, 2 or 3 times at the most is what I was expecting, but only getting it off one time, having a Gazanti get picked off without having shot at all is that's super terrible as far as I'm concerned, just based on the deployment positioning of all my ships and stuff. But
I definitely agree. Yeah, there's just nothing else to say there. You hit every nail on the head. Next thing to talk about here was the pass tokens, definitely how they influenced that outcome. I felt great. I think that was the best use of pass tokens I've ever had in this game.
I think that was the best use of pass tokens I've experienced since the pass token change. Because you had 3 ships, I had 6 ships, so you had 3 pass tokens. And so for that one critical round where I'm trying to delay, you just kept passing and then move one ship, and then pass and then move one ship. And it really turned out to be where I wasn't able to delay in the way I thought I was able to. And you could just, sit on your hind legs, wait for me to come forward, and then, all right, it's the next round. Now we're going to engage, instead of when I was trying to delay and get you moved into the right position. So that was pretty fucking awful. And I think I should have accounted for how many pass tokens you had, especially because you have only high value targets. And I should have nabbed down to account for that, but it's wild playing with these new pass tokens and the way that they work. And then you play so many games, and you'll play against someone, you'll have 5 ships, they have 4, they get 1 pass token.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
It really is.
It doesn't do anything. But when you get into 2 and 3 pass tokens, on that one critical turn where you're trying to delay,
especially a second player,
yeah, they can completely screw you. So I really enjoyed that for this match.
That was nice. I will say that the one downside to that is that with tag, it did delay that engagement, and then his first kind of I think it was round 4.
You did round 3 and 5.
3 and 5, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
So you totally,
yes,
you totally missed his round 3 activation. But
it was a good trade-off in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if
cool.
when tag activates round 3 and you just can't use him, then it's probably a good thing because you haven't burnt your defense tokens by then.
True. The only rebuttal I have for that is that I did have salvo, right? So, me, I like to just burn that salvo up and then get it back, and then burn it up again. So,
yeah,
I think that would have been nice. But of course, as you said, like it still means I'm not getting shot at, and it did end up benefiting me. So,
yeah.
All right. Next thing we want to talk about is this match. It seemed pretty basic from the start, but definitely ended up not being the case.
Yeah, and it was pretty exciting there in the end, where I was able to get that second Star Destroyer.
Very climactic.
But
loved it.
There was a point where that might not have happened, and I think it was just because I was able to get that singular shot off on the Gazanti and do like fucking 6 damage to the ISD.
I remember that.
But also, there were so many small factors in the game where that ISD that I was trying to kill would have been dead way earlier, and I could have repositioned my ships and gotten away with like more points. But there was one point in the game where instead of doing like a technical shimmy or trying to turn to engage, it just went straight to with a double click at the end to whip away from that double arc. And I think that was pretty significant.
Fair. And, to kind of add on to what we were doing not delivering in the way that we thought, my dice rolls were abysmal. Absolutely abysmal.
They were abysmal. But that's what you
especially
have to
for 3
Simons. When you have a fleet that's fully focused on red dice and you have no way to reroll. You've got no Intensify Firepower, you've got no Vader. Like, red dice are ass, for sure.
I don't know, man. I love the double. So.
The double is good, but it's a fickle god to pray to.
It's my favorite. Excellent. Moving on then, final outcome and overall thoughts. Could you remind me what the point difference was there?
So the point difference, let's see.
If you have it handy.
I've got it handy. So it was 6-5. You had 362 points at the end. I had 317.
Oh, wow.
So it ended up being pretty close.
Very close.
Just because I was able to get that last, the second ISD.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the contested outpost points... Oops. I dropped my water.
Oop. Yeah, you broke up a little bit.
Just at the end, the contested outpost points for I think I got it for round 5 and 6, really helped pad a lot of the points that I lost and a lot of the ships that you were able to destroy.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think, though, with the points being that close, I'd have to do the math, and I'm not going to do that right now. Just to kind of bring it full circle to picking the one that gave me 20 points per objective win. It played a role, right? So, of course, hindsight being 2020, balancing whether the contested outpost or I think it was dangerous territory was really the best one in that situation. Still, at the end of the day, I think you made the right choice, but at 20 points a pop, I was raking it in.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely got a lot of points for the objective. I think, though, if I choose dangerous territory, I think you just don't...
The entire game would have been different.
Yeah, you just don't deploy that way. You don't deploy with all the ISDs right next to each other.
Oh, that was going to happen no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Tsunami Fleet. I went in, no matter what happened.
But I don't know. It seems like a completely different game at that point. But it was fun. It definitely gave me a lot of insight as to holding back on some of my heavy hitter ships instead of trying to open with them. And by heavy hitter ships in this fleet, I'm talking about the fucking Gazantis.
Hey, they were.
Yeah, I definitely need to save them for round 4 instead of trying to open with them on round 3.
So let's have a quick chat about something, right? Because our fleets were very different. Mine was very simple, very streamlined, easy. Yours, it wasn't super complicated, but it did have a lot of moving parts. As far as adding those dice to the Gazantes, etc.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these two different philosophies?
Of simple versus, convoluted and complicated?
100%. Not being a rebel fleet, because there's no way to do a rebel fleet that's not convoluted and complicated.
I don't know. I think it's just dependent on what you enjoy flying. Because, I think your triple ISD fleet, with a couple tweaks, is pretty cool and viable. But, man, I love playing the card game.
Understood.
Where I tap the upgrades and I increase the value of my ships. And I use that with the command dials and really either outposition or just outdamage certain ships for my opponent. And it's... I don't know. It is really fucking fun for me to build a wildly convoluted fleet like a TF-1726 that has double Gazantes with extra blue dice
Many
on the
dice.
sides and ordnance experts and shit, and trying to make that work. And I feel like that one shot where the Gazanti did like 6 or 7 damage was worth it.
100%.
And I think if I position them better, I can get 2 or 3 more shots like that.
I totally agree.
And the only thing that I'll say about this Diamondback fleet is it's a real departure from what I like to do with fleets, which I really love having heavy squadron-based lists. And this one had no squadrons at all. But if you're running a list and you've got 4 linked turbolaser towers, you're pretty safe.
I think that's a wise saying.
When your opponent has a lot, or they've invested a lot into their squadron capabilities, and they see you have no squads, they tend to overextend. And
100%.
When your opponent overextends like that, and they don't think about the value of engagements and choosing an engagement over another one, like let's say you're activating a ship, you've got like a double arc, or you've got a shot against their ship, but in that same arc are all of their squadrons. What do you choose? Do you choose their squadrons where you do a couple damage and not kill any? Or do you shoot against the ship?
And that is always a tough choice.
And that's the
personally,
thing.
So personally, like when it comes to going against you, typically, you have so many points invested into those squadrons, right? So I don't mind shooting at the squadrons and ignoring the ships. Of course, I kind of have to do the math, and I ask myself, how much are all of these squadrons worth that I actually think I can kill? How much is this ship worth that's in my same arc, right? What's going to get me the points? Yeah, so I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and then, when you're playing as someone who doesn't consider that kind of value judgment, and they, burst in with their speed 4, their speed 3 squadrons, trying to get early damage on you, well, now you can only shoot at their squads. So obviously, all 3 of my hard cells are just going to target them with LTT. And for the uninitiated, they do 1 billion fucking damage.
1 billion, exactly.
1 fucking billion damage. Quote me on that. And then, then they have no more squadrons, and they've got a weak fleet compared to your fleet that's fucking wildly better equipped to kill ships. But this is my fucking strong opinion on the LTT. I don't think it should be a card at all. I think it's 2 cards, very undercosted, fused together.
And, for more information on this discussion, I would recommend watching our previous podcast, or listening to our previous podcast.
I think I went pretty hard on LTT in the last one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was fucking... Anyway.
That was a good chat there. We're going to go ahead and move on to segment 2. This is going to be AMG Ministravaganza. So, a lot of things were brought up. I want to kind of lead with Armada a little bit. How fucking cool is this? I forget the name for it. I'm going to call it the Ma, right? Just because. Um, I think that's super fucking cool. I think that's super refreshing, and I'm excited to see it and play it, but also, to see, and we're going to touch base on this a little bit, 3D prints and perhaps like physical models to represent some of the new mechanics that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, so you're talking about that organized play kit where they've got what the fuck is it called? The fucking Shumagorath?
The weird name thing, and yeah, in the middle of the black hole situation, whatever the fuck.
No, the Shumagorath is fucking MCU thing. What is that fucking solo movie monster? Suma Verminoth. Yeah.
Yes.
So the Suma Verminoth is that huge fucking tentacle monster that they avoid in the Kessel Run.
Yes, in Solo.
Yeah, in Solo. Super cool. I have no idea how it's going to be implemented, but
I mean, I think we're going to be pulling mechanics from, what is it, the Doomed Station kind of situation?
yeah, maybe something like that.
I think that's going to be like the lower end of kind of what I'm expecting. And then on the higher end of what I'm expecting is going to be something very similar to the Battle of Yavin Pack, where it's like a really played out scene, hopefully a bit more than just the standard objective.
Yeah, maybe where we all deploy like center field and we're all trying to fucking escape the big ass monster.
Like blow each other up and fucking, yes.
That could be cool.
That would be a highlight, I believe. And if anyone's listening that has the sway in these things, please do that.
Yeah, but this thing just keeps getting delayed because it was supposed to come out in like June. And so,
was it? I had no idea.
Yeah, so I'm wondering like what the holdup is.
It doesn't seem very complicated.
Well, Karnak is working on it, or has worked on it. He was one of the developers on it, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty complicated.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
But my whole thing with this is I'm kind of curious as to why it's an organized play kit and not like some kind of side expansion. Why organized play?
You saying that it was organized play, to me, was actually news. I did not pick that up from any of the information that I watched. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, something similar to the rapid reinforcements. Just very offhand.
And that might be something that I am just extrapolating from previous...
Injecting in there, yeah.
From like FFG, where they say organized play, they mean... tournament kits that they supply to stores that they then give out to the people who come. But a lot of what AMG has shown is that when they say organized play, they mean an online document that they submit that people can access to play a game.
An organized game.
An organized game in a certain format.
Yes.
So this might not even be
line with what
a
I'm
printed
expecting.
or a released product. This might be just something that they submit and be like, here you go, play with it. Print this paper out, cut it out, you've got the Suma Verminoth, and then that's it.
I hope it's better than that. But we have 3D printing to solve any problems. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's really just not much else to talk about because we don't have any more information on this topic.
Yeah, on the Suma Verminoth thing, yeah, it's I don't know. I'm really pushing back with this, with the way that Atomic Mass Games chooses to promote their products, which is essentially they just don't promote their products.
It's just that it comes up.
It is just something that occurs instead of something that they build to and then therefore is released and people know that it's coming out and they're anticipating. There's no anticipation for Atomic Mass Games. It's just like they say that nothing is happening, there's nothing going on, and then Rapid Reinforcements is released.
And honestly, let's talk about that for a second, right? Because any time that I've ever learned any of this information, it hasn't been from like AMG officially. It's always been like, oh my god, hey Luke, did you hear about this thing that they were talking about like a week ago? And that's it. That's all that I ever get. And so I have to go out of my way to specifically search for it. And sometimes it's not even easy to find in like an AMG website or anything like that. So it's definitely, as you said, it's not very well promoted. And honestly, it makes me think it's not very well planned.
Yeah, I just think that they don't have good, like a good promotional mindset for any of their products. Like when something as significant, at least in my mind, as something as like rapid reinforcements comes out,
Mm-hmm.
when you're altering the game with this free product, you've got multiple different, cards that affect the game.
The concept of cross faction.
When I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, I had no idea that this was even being in the works. I had no idea
Yeah, that was me.
that this was coming." It makes me think that they just fucking found it in the bathroom or something. It was like, "This is good. Let's put this out." It's
Had
like,
some
where did this
intern
come
kinda
from?
come
Where
in.
where are the play testers? Where's the anticipation? Where's the hey? Now we're working on something. In about a month, you'll see it. It's not going to be any like physical product. It's going to be just a side enhancement pack. Here's one of the cards, just to give you a little teaser taste. It's none
That
of that.
would be
It's
great.
just suddenly rapid reinforcements to the point where none of the people who make content around this game, where it's like their fucking second job to follow this game, none of them even had anything ready. None of them knew that anything was fucking going on. They just drop it.
I had no idea. Shit. Yeah, that's something, dude.
And like nobody had any idea that rapid reinforcement was coming. And like I'm glad it came. I think it's great.
And it was fantastic, and it's great. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, a lot of the opinions I've of people I've talked to have really loved rapid reinforcements, which is great. I like that, but like, what the fuck is going on with this organized play kit? Is what I'm saying. It's like you didn't really know it was organized play kit, and at this point, I don't even know if it's an organized play kit.
Yeah, we have to go out of our way to kind of figure that out. Really dig it out of like, I don't know, a 2-minute section of like a 2-hour video.
And also, like, this was like a brief scene in one of the movies. What is gonna be the fucking objective with this big ass monster? Do you need to kill
get
it?
out.
Do you need to
It's gotta
escape
be to
from
get
it?
out.
Like, I don't know. But I want to know.
I'm gonna-
I want to know
ahead.
something about it. Is my point. I want to know anything about it. I'm curious. Let the fucking tell me.
So, something I kind of just came to my mind here as we're talking about this. You mentioned like they're free, right?
Mhm.
How do we feel about that? So I love that they're free. Like that's great.
Well, when you say
But why-
they are free, what are you talking about?
Rapid reinforcements was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can print the things and you're good. But I would love to pay them my money to have physical copies that are nicely printed. Looks like all the other stuff with good artwork, or I mean, it does have good artwork, but printed well is what I'm saying. Why aren't they not making money?
Oh, it's a licensing agreement. Yeah.
Is it really?
For certain product, they have to release a physical ship for certain products.
Mm-hmm.
So rapid reinforcements is like, there's nothing to sell. So my assumption is that they don't have
cards.
to be abiding by that particular rule.
Sell me the cards. I mean, I guess you're right, but
I mean,
shit, literally, like a card pack would be
they've kind of gotten
great.
around it with some of the X-Wing stuff, but I remember that this was a huge problem 3-4 years ago when people were crying out for card packs for X-Wing, and pretty much the response was, we are under like contract or blood oath where if we release a product, it has to have a ship, like a physical plastic ship that goes with it, and we can't
That's
do
so
anything
weird.
else. So I'm sure that they
It's something like
are
that.
restricted by some weird corporate rule or licensing where if they're selling something, it's got to have something physical that goes with it. It can't just be paper. They can't just
What
sell
company
paper.
makes that stupid Star Wars card game?
Well,
Was it
how many?
Legends or
There's
people?
so many stupid Star Wars card games. You're gonna have to be more specific.
It was a living card game. It's not super popular, but it probably was.
The TCG?
I think
I
so.
think it's just
Yeah.
called Star Wars TCGs.
Yeah, it was super basic if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You know, is that still healthy? Does that still exist?
No, man, I don't know. Probably not.
Because it might have something to do, like if you know, maybe if Asmodee, for instance, like makes that, they don't want to release something that's just a card pack to compete with that. I know it doesn't, right? But from like a corporate perspective, it might if they're not including a plastic miniature as well.
I mean that
So
honestly might be a pretty reasonable assumption.
yeah. If I had to just extrapolate, maybe what's going on, because I have to try to explain this nonsense to myself, right? I have to try to find something that makes sense for it.
Yeah. Sometimes when you get like corporate replies, it just sounds like fucking nonsense babble.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just gotta be like, oh, there's some corporate overlord that's saying, do this, do it
No
this
plastic,
way,
no
or
sale.
you're fired. And then it's like, well,
Fuck.
I just want to know what's going on with the fucking organized play kit with the big tentacle monster, man. Like, just tell me, show me a piece of cardboard how big is it? Show me. I want to see. I want to get excited about it.
Well, you're going to be excited about it when they say, here it is.
I remember all of these fucking, like, Fantasy Flight articles where they're just like, here's 2 cards and a picture of the ship. So you can picture yourself owning that ship,
You get hype.
You get
real hype.
You get really fucking hype with a minimal
you build
amount of
lists.
information. But, like, not having any information is fucking infuriating.
100%. I totally agree. Any other comments before we move on to the next topic of Ministravaganza? Because we have a fair bit to go through.
No, I think that's just it. And if anybody with AMG is listening, how the fuck does the tentacle monster work? Does it work how I think it's going to work? No. Oh, okay. So here's my question. Is the tentacle monster one piece of cardboard or multiple pieces of cardboard?
It's going to be multiple pieces of cardboard that move like the I mean, not like the Exogorths, but move.
Because I would really like it to be multiple pieces of cardboard. That would be fucking fun.
Oh, that would be slick. Like, kind of... Yeah, because you can have, like, the tentacle... Like, you know how they have, like, the desk sea monsters where it looks like it's, like, going into the desk?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, something like that would be fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, so it could take up, a huge area of the board. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic, because we're babbling about fucking tentacles and shit.
Yes. Let's move on to a game that I would love to play if someone just handed me a box, which, there's going to be boxes now, right? So we have Legion, we have their Battle Force packs. I kind of see like a note here, our personal notes, how they could be implemented in Armada. Are we talking specifically about the packs?
Specifically,
like having a pack of ships?
Specifically the Battle Forces pack that they're showing in Legion, where it's like, Blizzard Force, it's... the 501st, those Battle Force packs where they've got similar models, probably likely the same models. I'm not too well versed on like the positioning of all the fucking Legion models and stuff to determine if they're different or not. But you've got the same models in the pack, and they come with different cards based on the theme of the pack.
I love this.
This is something that I feel like could easily be implemented into Armada and be really interesting. And I think there's several different ways that they can do it that improve the game or could improve the game or just make things different and interesting and kind of unique.
So when you envision this in your mind, does this include plastic?
Oh yeah, it's got to include plastic for sure.
Excellent.
It's got to be a way for someone who's trying to get into the game to get a little bit of a boost. And I'm not talking about like an Edge or anything. I'm talking about when you buy like the Republic starter kit and you get those 3 ships, you get a medium, 2 smalls, like that's a boost.
Yes, I think that was the best thing they could have done
Like
for Armada.
if you have 2 people, one of them buys the original Armada core set and the other buys one of the Clone Wars core sets. One of those players is ahead of the other.
Significantly.
Just based on the kinds of ships that they have.
100. I totally agree
So
with
I
this.
think that if they are developing, and this is just one of the things that I'm trying to keep an eye out on for Atomic Mass Games, is just what is the way that this company is choosing to develop their products. And what I've seen, other than just their individual Marvel Crisis Protocol fucking games, which kind of annoys me just watching the development rate of that fucking game. And I'm just like, I'm watching like all these Star Wars games drown at the bottom of a pool like a redheaded stepchild. And then like last week they released, did you see this? They released a bear for Marvel Crisis Protocol.
A bear?
It's just a fucking bear, dude. They're like, here's our next fucking Marvel Crisis Protocol character. It's called fucking Ursa something 12. It's some comic book character that happens to be a bear. But it's like they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to get the last of the dregs out.
And it's so strange. Okay, so they have so much for this game, and I've heard people talk about playing it, and I have an acquaintance at work that has mentioned it to me in the past, and I think I may have played this game once, but I don't think I've ever, aside from that, ever seen anyone actually play this game.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I kind of wonder, like, what is its popularity? Like, it's very strange to me.
I would say that a lot of their popularity is with the quality of their models, which is incredible. Like,
I think it's okay.
well, let me put it in perspective. Atomic Mass Games, before they took before they received the Star Wars games, the big 3, the X-Wing, the Armada, the Legion, the only game they've ever produced is Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Okay.
And so for that to be your first game and to produce models of like that quality, which to be fair is pretty fucking incredible. I think that's not something to shake a stick at. I think it's pretty impressive for that to be their first game and to open up with cool, highly detailed miniatures like that.
So I had no idea that it was their first game. That kind of gives them a little bit of a boost there. I don't know. I'm kind of used to like the Warhammer kind of quality there, and the paint level. I get granted, of course, it's painted after the fact of Warhammer miniatures. So I don't know. I guess like if I compare through that lens, it's kind of not that great. But again, looking at it from your perspective, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and for that point to just develop a miniatures games that is effectively not Warhammer.
Yeah,
where you're selling plastic that can be painted, and it have a decent game underneath it that's not Warhammer. That's pretty good. But anyway, you fucking distracted me. They released a fucking bear, is my point, as one of the expansions. A bear? Really?
I mean, a room of people thought this was a good idea, Chandler. We can't argue with that.
Who was in that room, man? Who was in that fucking room? Anyway, so my idea, not my idea, what I've seen from Atomic Mass Games, where they've presented these Legion battle forces, where they've got, existing plastic set up in a nice, comfortable package with new cards, new I don't know what they're called. They're like command cards that make your fucking units do something different. They've got fucking upgrade cards that are new in this nice buyable package. Now, when I see that, I'm like, all right, how can they do that but Armada? And one of the things I'm thinking of,
go ahead,
is they could obviously do fucking battle packs, you just put a commander's name on it, and you say it's fucking Dodonna's 3rd or 4th fleet or whatever. You put a couple rebel ships in there, add some new cards. Easy.
Very easy. I think in a perfect world, we would have something like that, and then a slight repaint. Kind of something like, the Chimera has its kind of, specific paint job.
Yeah.
Again, this is kind of like definitely reaching, like, this is like, I think the highest level for a battle pack that doesn't exist, but how cool would that be? Because not only, would you have new players wanting to purchase this because it's a really good entry into the game, but, on top of that, you can have veteran players like us that's like, oh, that ship is different visually, not only with just some cards. I want to add that in. It's definitely, I think, a really interesting opportunity, and I hope they take it.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for repaints, but
definitely
another avenue I could see them doing, like if they don't just want to do specific battle forces, because there starts becoming this problem when, let's say they release this is the Escape from Hoth battle force, You're doing Escape from Hoth, you want to have Han Solo, you want to have Luke in there, maybe Leia even.
Mm-hmm.
But you've already got those cards. So now do you move them around? Do you make Han the commander? Or do you make Luke the commander?
That'd be so cool.
Or is Luke going to be a squadron because he was in a squadron when they were escaping from Hoth? But now you've got 2 Lukes, so how do you figure that shit out?
I mean, you have more than one Darth Vader.
You got more than one Darth Vader. You got more than one.
You got 3
of the titles. You want to do a titled ISD, but you've already got an ISD with the same title. So one thing I think they do is what I think they've been doing for X-Wing with the Battle of Yavin, where you've got subtitles, where you've got this is Luke, he's Red 5, or this is Luke, the Last Jedi kind of thing. You have alternate versions of existing character cards or unique cards, which is cool. They're already kind of doing that with Vader, because Vader's got he exists in every upgrade slot available to the fucking game, sometimes multiples.
That's what comes to mind.
And so I was thinking, they're already doing that. How do you make that more flavorful? How do you make that more unique and make it easier to balance? Because after a while, you start tracking so many fucking cards, it becomes a fucking hassle. So I'm thinking you create one of these battle forces, but instead of just giving out all these cards, you kind of aerolock it. Where, let's say you bought the Rebel Escape from Hoth pack. And now to use any of the upgrades, you got to take not like a commander, but like a fleet-wide upgrade that says, hey, this is the Escape from Hoth fleet. Or this is, whatever name you want to fucking put on it. Spend 5 points on it. And so it says, all right, any unique squadron, any unique title, any unique officer has to be drawn from the Hoth scenario Battle Force pack. You can't use the normal Luke that ignores shields. You can't use Leia Commander. You have to use the Leia crew or support officer that comes with Hoth. That way, any of the other general upgrades you can use, but any of the unique squadrons or cards have to be drawn from the Hoth pool.
So I'm trying to kind of think of it like an equivalent here on something that we kind of have that's already close, and what comes to mind is the 7th Fleet Star Destroyer card, right? Because that kind of, to me, came out of left field as far as the locking it to a Star Destroyer, it could be a very similar symbol that they have on the card for the era. And I think that'll be a really easy way to achieve what you're saying here. And it wouldn't be that difficult. So I think it's definitely like doable. Because at first I thought this would be too complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole other thing that you have to have on the card. But I mean, really, no. It just kind of has to be in a similar way to like the 7th Fleet Star Destroyer card. They already have like a concept for that. So
Yeah, you just put a
I think
card
it's
and
possible.
then you put a little line under it that says, Escape from Hoth, upgrade cards only. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then you
That
have a
is
whole different
fantastic.
field of you have a whole different design space to explore. Because you have this locked in area that you can put upgrade cards in. And you don't have to worry about all like the fucking 7 years worth of unique squadrons. You only have to worry about balancing within that small space. And then, the non-unique upgrade cards.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah. But it's just something that I thought would be interesting, and obviously there are so many fucking wars, scenarios, and kinds of fleets that you can design for. It's essentially limitless. But that was one thing that I was thinking about. And this is just things that I have thought about from watching their Ministravaganza. Just of the products that they're submitting, the kinds of things they're moving towards.
It's definitely feasible.
It's definitely feasible.
Yeah, no, definitely very interesting. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Let's see. Well, we were talking about Legion. We were talking about battle packs. They're super cool. So the next thing is going to be X-Wing. Specifically the Battle of Yavin. We kind of touched on that slightly through here. I think this is fantastic. If I'm not mistaken, this is something that a lot of people have been homebrewing, right?
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to see some official rules for that. I kind of heard, didn't read, specifically, the sort of actions and hoops you have to jump through to get in the trench, out of the trench, actually shoot that. You have to have a proton torpedo, right? Like that's something that has to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really fantastic. I didn't quite catch. What scale? Was this at epic scale or regular scale for X-Wing?
See, this is another point of the poor marketing, poor promotioning, because they, on their own channel, their own YouTube channel, they played a full game of this with all the pieces.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even know about it until last week.
I did not know about it until you brought it up right now.
Exactly. They played a full fucking game of it.
Huh.
And so
Okay.
it's just, at this point, it's fucking annoying to just be constantly left in the dark unless I troll their fucking YouTube channel or Twitter, for God's sakes, which is just one of the most abysmal sites on the planet.
Yes.
Just to know what the fuck is in the pack. And when they did release an official statement about, Battle of Yavin's coming out, there's no indication as to what's inside it other than a bunch of fucking cards and some cardboard. Which, spoiler alert, that's all that's in there.
I accept.
But
we have a printer.
This was one of the packs that really got me on that train of, hey, you can have a kind of separate engagement force where you only have Battle of Yavin ships in there. You've only got, Luke Battle of Yavin. You've only got Vader Battle of Yavin. You can't use them outside of this. It's only for that.
I think it lends itself a little easier to X-Wing, though, right? Because they have, it's already kind of built into the game to have those pre-made ships, right?
I kind of disagree with you, because it's not.
How so?
It's not built into the game to have pre-made ships like that.
Yeah, you're joking, right? Because I have for my first order stuff, it has like there's this card, he's at this power level, and he has this upgrades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for first order. That's when they
Oh, is that
started doing that. When they
Oh,
started
so
releasing.
I
full
only
codes.
have first order. I assume this was universal.
It
No,
is
no, no,
not.
no, no. My X-wing, I have the same thing for it's Jack Porkins specific card. I can pull it out of my closet right now.
Pull it out of your closet.
All right, I have the card binder.
Okay.
So let's
Show me what you're talking
see what
about.
we got. Well, I will verbally tell you what I'm talking about.
All right.
T-65 X-wing Luke Skywalker with instinctive aim, R2-D2 proton torpedoes, and servo motor S foils. He is a power level 3.
Yeah. So that's one of those pre-made, ready-to-go cards that they've been
Exactly.
developing.
Okay, yeah, so what I'm saying is we take this, and then you just make it Luke Skywalker Battle of Yavin. And then he's got what he's got there. And yeah, so I'm just saying, it lends itself very easy to doing that with X-Wing specifically.
No, but my point is that that's not how the cards have always been.
I have no knowledge of what came, but because this came in my core set, right? So
Yeah. So that's not how the game had been developed to be. This was something they built towards, made a card that had those things on it,
which is great.
and then started sending it. And I'm saying it's not that difficult to do for Armada as well. You just do the same thing.
Well, I
You
think
just,
that's a good
you make
template
a
for
longer card, or you cut out some of the art and you put specific upgrade cards on it. But that's neither here nor there. But yes, the point is they've done this before, and it's pretty easy to do again.
Yes, that sounds fantastic. So, very good. Cool. I knew I wasn't crazy.
But
I
the fucking Battle of Yavin, I don't like how they just made it a 3x3 scenario with just a fucking small cardboard trench on it.
It has to be bigger.
It's got to be bigger.
Weird.
It's got to be a fucking epic scale kind of thing.
Like, yeah, because that's 3x6, I think, on epic scale, right?
Yeah, it's 3x6, but I don't know. I guess you think about it, and you're trying to get new people to play. You get a 6x3. Well, then you need the wing tools. If you're playing
Listen,
an epic
if you're
scale.
playing Battle of Yavin, you're not playing it to get someone to play the game. That's not how you start.
I mean,
So I don't know.
I don't know.
feel
I
like that
kind of
argument's
disagree
not-
because it's like, hey, you remember the Death Star Trench? This is that. You want to play that? And it's like, sure, I want to play it, but I've never played before. And but I want to play the Death Star Trench run, obviously.
So does that sound fun? Yes. Do I think that's a good way to get someone into this game? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, probably not. They're like super complicated type of game, but I don't know. Yeah, I would want it to be an epic scale game, but I can kind of see why they don't have it that way, because then you start bringing out the wing tools, and then it's like you start playing for position a lot, and you've got so much space, and then the game's taking forever to finish.
Yes, that is a fact.
So I can see why they do 3x3, but it's like, couldn't you do something? Couldn't you make it like a secondary rule set where it's like, we know that you want to go pretty hard into the Death Star Trench. Why don't you just make it 6x3 and then go fucking all out? You know, it's like, I don't know.
Well, we'll see what they do, right? Because we also don't have all the information. Maybe there is a way there's an epic scale version, because they know epic scale exists.
I don't know if they do. But anyway, let's go on to the next AMG Ministravaganza topic.
Let's see if we have anything here. Rapid reinforcements discussion via a painting stream.
Yeah.
So
this was one of the things.
Fill me in about this one a little bit.
This was one of the things when we were all watching the Ministravaganza. There was only one section allocated to Armada, and it was a painting stream. So, they get some guy that works there. He comes out, he gets a couple ships, and paints on stream, which AMG has been known to do before and stuff. But, like, why now? Why during this, like, announcement event where they, like, reveal all this product, they do all of these panel streams and talk about these games? Like, why the fuck are you spending 3-4 hours painting a model.
And at the same time, giving core information.
And that's another thing that's super fucking annoying is they just parse all of their super important information just in offhanded remarks while they're doing something else. So you never know when to watch or when to pay attention to what the fuck they're saying. But anyway, so the only...
Maybe it's by design, so you just watch all their shit and they get all the views.
I doubt that it's that sinister, but... So the only part of Ministravaganza that was allocated to Armada was a painting stream, which is weird because now you're starting this event already having annoyed anybody who's ever liked the game of Armada. Because now they're like, well, why are you just painting? Why don't you talk about this fucking game that we like and tell us where it's at? Because we know you're not going to want to say anything on the painting stream even before it starts. And that was pretty much the mood of the painting stream, was just a bunch of people getting fucking annoyed about the lack of communication.
Yeah, it was, honestly, the whole thing was hard for me to watch. I don't know. The repaint was good. Did you watch the painting aspect of it, by the way? 'Cause I know you're probably just listening.
I was one of the people who was being a fucking asshole about it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
okay. So I didn't watch this live.
To be fair, it was me being a fucking asshole to the fucking whiners who are like, is the game dead? Why aren't you doing any new product? This and that, you know, just boo hoo 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 about everything. And I'm like, this was literally like 2 or so weeks after Rapid Reinforcements came out. So there was just this weird disconnect where people just weren't associating Rapid Reinforcements with any kind of production on the game. Which I feel Rapid Reinforcements indicates a significant amount of investment on an already fucking overwhelmed and flooded company that went from having to develop one game to having to develop 4 at the same time.
I think that the fact that Rapid Reinforcements is received so well indicates that they spent time on it. Because had this been like a total shit thing, right, where it totally fucked the game up, you know, from like a balancing perspective,
yeah,
you know, I would say no, they just kind of shit this out just for shits and giggles. But no, they did spend time, and it fits well, you know, into the scene of Armada.
I think a lot of the problem is that maybe a lot of people didn't even fucking know that Rapid Reinforcements was out because they just dropped
Not until
it.
You told me.
Well, I don't even know where you could go to find out that Rapid Reinforcements is a thing without a specific link. Because you can't like find it on their website. I didn't know it was a thing until I went onto the Facebook page where some guy posted a link to it. So if you're not really tracking, if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what's going on with Armada, there might still be people who play the game casually who don't know that it's a thing at all.
When are we going to get cross-faction?
Exactly. They're just sitting there jonesing. They're on Kuwait drive yards trying to print out their Venator cards for the Empire when they didn't even know that it's been released.
Officially. Oh my god, yeah. I wish I had something like positive to say in the matter, but I just don't. It's a very frustrating situation. I just try to hope for the best.
Yeah, and we definitely have more to talk about. Maybe not specifically AMG-wise, but they are related to it with... I don't know if you've gotten the chance to play, but they're like event rules releases where they kind of alter the way the game is played with these certain scenarios that have different objectives contained within them, and they have a bunch of shit that goes along with it. But yeah, we'll be reviewing those and talking about those in future episodes.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to doing the research on it.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go to our final segment now?
Yeah, it's actually not our final segment.
What? It isn't?
We still have to talk about cults.
Okay, right. Yes, if we've got time.
Yes, but
segment 3, let's say.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the third segment. We have a list review. Lists are reviewed based on the following criteria. Actually, Chandler, I don't even know how to present this. How do we want to talk about the list review? We have a list review that we're going to do.
Yes.
As far as how we choose them, it is based on their creativity. It's based on their presentation. We also factor in the texture, the smell, and the taste.
Yes.
Um,
So here's where kind of explain myself a little bit. So when I started doing list reviews on the podcast, I was like, when you're judging something, what kinds of things do you want to target? And so I Googled, like, judging review criteria. And the only thing I could find was for cake competitions.
yeah, this is
So
definitely like Master Chef.
I just copied it and pasted it and put it up here. And
now I'm reading it.
well, and Deej read it several times and never fucking questioned it at all. He just said it and then moved on and was like, okay. Because I put all kinds of jokes in the notes all the time, and he'll either skip over them or read them, but this was just one of those things that continually was unaddressed. But it is a review criteria for cakes.
Excellent. So let's break this cake down. We have list name, Reality Matrix. Its faction is Separatists. For our commander, we have General Grievous. We're going to go through the objective cards. For Assault is Most Wanted. It's a good one. Defense, Abandoned Mining Facility. Navigation will be Doomed Station. I like that. We're going to have a Providence Dreadnought. He's going to have General Grievous on this particular ship, so it is the flagship. Rune Hako. Ordnance Experts. Reserve Hangar Deck. External Racks. Point Defense Ion Cannons. Linked Turbo Laser Towers, your favorite. My favorite, XI7 Turbo Lasers. Its title is Invincible, and it also has electronic countermeasures, totaling at 169 points. It's going to be supported with a Munificent Star Frigate, featuring Watt Tambor, medical teams, thermal shields, point defense ion cannons, again, linked turbo laser towers. The title card, I believe, Tide of Progress 12?
Yep.
That is the title card, right?
Top 12.
Okay, cool. Total for this ship is 97 points. Moving on, we have two Gazanti cruisers, both of them featuring high-capacity ion turbines, both being 35 points. We do also have 64 points of squadrons. It's going to be 8 basic Vulture Droid fighter squadrons, totaling at 400 points. This is a lot. This is a little bit outside of... Yeah, it's a little bit outside of my realm. I like my fleets to be very streamlined. I think they did a good job with the Gazantis. I think, if I had to talk about some negatives first, medical teams. I think I would have rather removed that one and had 399 points instead of the 400 points, in case you're going against the opponent and then it ends up being decided with something like a coin toss. I think that's just not ideal. All right, let's see. XI7s, I think that's fantastic. Looks like it's definitely like a medium, kind of wanting to get in close-ish kind of fleet here. I'm trying to figure out like what the main mechanic is that they're trying to capitalize on.
Well, I can tell you because
please do it.
I'll let you know that this is a fleet that I designed.
Oh, okay. So I'll shit on it super hard. Got it.
No, don't shit on it just because I made it.
Tell me.
So this was one of my favorite fleets that I've flown for the Separatists so far. Prior to rapid reinforcements, where the Gazantis would just be a hard cell transport. Since rapid reinforcements came out, I replaced the hard cell transport with 2 high-capacity ion turbine Gazantis, which I feel will give me that additional activation padding that I need for this fleet to be unbelievably amazing. Because this fleet is designed to not die at all, ever.
Okay.
It is unkillable.
Okay.
You might be able to get a Gazanti. Some vultures will obviously die because my commander is General Grievous. So the way that this fleet works is Munificent Star Frigate is the blocker, where let's say you've got a big ship or you've got a lot of small ships. The Munificent will get in the way. It doesn't matter if it's an ISD. It'll go right in front of a Starhawk if it wants to. You can't kill it. It will actually be unkillable because I'll be spamming Wat Tambor, engineering. You'll shoot at it with your full salvo. It's fine. Thermal shields. So you're shooting at half. If I've got a good position, you've got one arc on me. If you've got double arc, that's fine. I'll just burn my brace. I'll burn my brace on round 2. I don't care. And then in the squadron phase, I'll throw off 2 vultures or 1 vulture, get my brace back. I'll throw off 2. I'll get brace redirect back. Don't care. And then the following round, you've got to deal with brace redirect, full fresh Munificent again, while the Providence Dreadnought is coming up on you.
So I want to point something out here, right? Like another bonus to this is even if I do kill this ship, right? Let's say that I do. It's only 97 points.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing.
And I mean,
Literally
it's meant to get close. So let's say you've got an ISD Kuat. I've got PDICs, so reroll that hit crit.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you do get away with having black dice in your pool at all, because I'm going to be thermal shieldings every shot. And one of my favorite things with Munificent Star Frigate is it's got brace redirect salvo. It notably doesn't have a contain because that would be completely obscene and busted. If I'm correct on that, which I think I am. Which means that if it had something better than a contain, it would be absolutely the most broken ship in the game. Which is what this Munificent Star Frigate does. Because it's got top 12 and medical teams.
Yeah. Okay, so explain medical teams and then top 12, because I think I might be missing the correlation here.
Okay. So we've got top 12. Top 12 says, before you're dealt a face-up damage card with the ship trait, you can exhaust this card to discard that damage card without resolving its effect. Right?
Okay.
So that's all crits with the ship trait. Medical team is 1 point. And it says, before you're dealt a face-up card with the crew trait, you may discard this card to discard that damage card.
I'm familiar.
So all of the crits in the game are either ship or crew.
Mm-hmm.
So now, because I don't have a contain,
You're just throwing away the card.
I can just discard any of either of those. So let's say I get dealt a crew crit card. Well, I'll just discard medical team and get rid of that. If it's a ship, Tide of Progress, and then I can untap it the next round. And do it again. And do it again. So I'm essentially not just immune to being dealt face-up cards. I can actually discard them. And in some cases, more than one time.
It's a little busted, Chandler.
It is a little busted. And then after that, like if you're trying to get a juicy crit to drain my shields or to do additional damage, well, you can't do that, and now when I activate, I'm going to use Wat Tambor, and I'm just going to recover any kind of damage you've done.
Oof. So what's the play here, right?
The play is to put the Munificent in front of whatever ship you're trying to play with.
No, against you.
Against you. Against this one?
What's the play? Yeah, like the best I can think to do. I don't know, man.
Because if you
just
say the play is squadrons, I've got PDICs
it's not enough
on
points.
both of the ships.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to go hard bombers, well, now you can't, because if you get the hit crit, I'll make you reroll it. And not only that, I've got 8 vultures on the field that can be pushed by the Gazantis.
All right. So you're telling me the things I can't do. Tell me the things I can do.
I don't know.
There's got to be. I mean,
I'm kind of. This is kind of the thing where I pass it to you, and when you look at this fleet, how do you build a list specifically against this one? Because I've played this fleet a couple times on the channel, and it's very, very strong.
All right, so first things first, I'm going to request that on our next battle report, you play this fleet.
Really?
Um,
I would kind
I
of
wanna go
avoid
for it.
playing this one because I try not to go super try hard, and I try to go more
Fuck it.
like unique list designs and exploring kind of those alternate options. And this is one of those fleets where I was like, if I were to make the most try hard bear separatist fleet, what would I design? And this is it.
Okay.
Because remember, like when I play General Grievous, those vultures are flying off the board.
I know. They're not squadrons, they're defense tokens, essentially.
But yeah, I could play this next time if when we do the next episode. That's fine. I'm totally on board with that. But how
Yeah.
like
No, I mean,
what would you do against this fleet? Because this is
I have two thoughts. And these are the only two thoughts I've been able to think of so far. The first one, which is my weakest one, is going to be somehow, some way, just complete overwhelming firepower. I don't think it's going to get me very far, though, because I'm still going to be eating it at the same time,
Mhm.
right? So it's really tough. Does the Munificent? It does not have a salvo, if I'm correct, right?
Munificent has salvo. Yeah, it's got salvo two
Okay,
reds.
well then, fuck. It's fucking shit. So yeah,
And so
I have to think about that a
against the
little bit
multiple small units type thing, I can just discard my salvo for two
and get it
salvos,
right back.
and then I'll chuck two vultures off, or one vulture get a salvo back, another vulture get another salvo back. I mean, look, like I played a game with this match, and I was able to thermal shields like fucking 4 or 5 times in a round. Against every shot, I could thermal shields. Because it doesn't matter which ship is activating or when it's activating. All of my ships have, after round 1, they all have a squadron token. So if you target my Munificent with 2 different ships, I'll thermal shields both of them, then activate a different ship, throw a vulture off the board, the brace is back. You target it with a different ship, I'll thermal shields that shot, activate another ship, get my brace back for the Munificent. I'll just keep throwing vultures off until there's nothing that can be done. There's no resistance anymore.
It's tough, which brings me to my second point. And this is the strongest one that I think it is. And I think it's going to be playing into the weakness of this fleet being at 400 points. And it's going to be playing the objective.
Yeah.
I think that...
That's one point that
Go
I
ahead.
think that this fleet is weak against. Like if you just bid me 1 point, if you just have 399, then you're like, I'm second player. Then I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this fleet design is letting the opponent be like, oh, I'll easily pick first player. And then I'm like, I've got all of these amazing positional-based objectives.
Yeah, and everything that I've been considering isn't even with you getting the bonus, like the bonus of having the objective on your side. I can't allow myself to factor that in because there's already so many other problems to deal with in the first place. Just the fleet existing.
And speaking of
So that's
positioning
tough.
and positioning
Go ahead.
objectives, okay. So speaking about positioning and positioning objectives, that is actually one of the major limitations of this fleet, because a lot of my strategy and planning is based on throwing vultures off the board to fuel General Grievous, to get my thermal shields brace tokens back. It means that at any point in time, all of my ships need to be at least within distance 5 of any board edge. So the center of the field is completely off limits for all of my ships.
Ooh, that is a big weakness.
It is a big weakness. So let's say just picture the setup area in your mind.
I am.
Where, wherever all the obstacles are placed, none of my ships can ever go there for my strategy to work out as consistently as I would like it to work. Because then, if I throw a vulture off the board and my ship is not within distance 1 to 5 of it, I don't get the
You
benefit,
don't get it.
obviously.
Yeah.
So obviously
You just get
I
the
would want
points.
all my
Yeah.
ships to be at the edge. And that's generally how my games play out, is that I lean hard to one side of the board and then I just kind of do a sloop around that left or right edge, the 3-foot edge of the board, and just take whatever the opponent throws, and then it's my game to win.
Yeah, and I feel like, Armada kind of lends itself to that in general, right? Because you have the whole 3x6, but that's really, I think, more for the deployment game. The game itself ends up being played on a 3x3. So yeah, no, it definitely allows you, in most cases, to capitalize on that and to be near the edge.
Dude, that's one of the things that I kind of maybe want to do a podcast-specific episode on, of one of the points of Armada that I think is the weakest, which is just the amount of field space that's used in any particular game feels super limited. I want the whole Armada. I want the whole board to be filled with ships. I want not just a 3x3 space of the 6x3 being used. I want one section of the board to be important and another section of the board to be important. I want the center to be important. I want the sides to be important. I want there to be an even spread of stuff. And I think that there are a couple ways that can be accomplished. But hint, hint to anybody listening, I'm not a fucking game designer, so don't fucking come at me. I'm just saying what I think would be cool. And if you're going to tell me I'm wrong, you better have a good fucking reason. Mm-hmm. And I better know your name.
And where you live.
And where you fucking live. So don't come at me. I'm just saying, I think it would be cooler if instead of just having a dense area of the board, having it spread out, making sure that, like, you've got a ship and it's got, squadron value of 2, should probably have 2 or 3 squadrons with it. Mm-hmm. Instead of you just clumping all of your squadrons together to get that fucking huge alpha strike, I want a balanced kind of fleet engagement. But it's difficult for that to be efficient without also having either one objective that has multiple points of interest on the board, or multiple objectives that they have done with a lot of the campaign packs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's what my thought is.
No, I think we're both on board with that. Yeah. As far as wrapping this up, if you do have a list that you would like us to review, please submit it in the comments section of our YouTube channel. We will gladly tell you what parts of it are fantastic. So,
that's not what I fucking wrote. That's not what I fucking wrote.
Chandler will let you know all the things that you do wrong, and that'll be that.
All right.
So
tell me about this section, because I remember you brought it up, but I was willing to dedicate like a whole episode to it. I didn't know we were gonna do like a 4th segment, so I haven't researched.
I don't think we have enough yet to dedicate a whole episode, right? Because let's face it, it's going to be a legal battle. All that's happened so far is that a cease and desist has been served, and then there's been
well, to who? Do I know them?
You should. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the situation. Citadel served Colt's 3D print. It's a website with a cease and desist for a lot of their Warhammer stuff.
Oh yeah.
So in the past, Chandler, you and I have talked about Thingiverse. However, that's not my favorite site to go to, and I'm sure there's others, but these are the two main ones: Thingiverse and Colts.
I would say that Thingiverse is probably one of the most abysmal sites to navigate on the planet.
Yes, it's trash. Colts is way better. For many reasons. Definitely up there on my list is it has a lot of not safe for work content.
Okay. Nice to know.
So that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but you can actually print in flexible materials.
Oh. That is nice to know.
Yes. And don't forget, like, resin printing exists, right? So, like, really interesting stuff that you can do with that.
Uh-huh.
Moving on to that, from that, you also have paid content on Colts, which is a big difference from Thingiverse. Those are the two main things: paid content and not safe for work content. Mm-hmm. Of course, the overlap between the two. So that being said, you end up with a lot of higher quality models on Colts.
I'm looking at them now. I'm looking at, like, the fucking BattleTech stuff that they've got up there, which is super cool. They've got a bunch of cool models and poses.
Very
of
well
these
done.
fucking robots. There's one that's a monkey, which I like. What's his name? Oh my god, he's got a name. Iron King Gashapon. Okay, that's cool. And they got a bunch of tanks that look really high quality.
Very high quality.
So that's cool. I like it.
It's beyond cool. I love this website. It's great. Do a lot of stuff off of there. Anyways, so that being said, there was service cease and desist from Citadel. They are not rolling over like most would. There's a very high likelihood that this is going to have to go to court. What they did do is, anything that is paid, that is basically Warhammer, they did take that down because that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, you can't like use someone else's property and like get paid for it.
Yes. And then the other thing is specific keywords like 40K, Warhammer, Necron.
To be fair,
yeah,
that is
100%.
Like, why are you using like the exact words that?
So it's easy to find.
Use? Like, I mean, so it can be found, yeah, but like, I don't know. I haven't seen any kind of. It's rare to see a third party
straight up use those terms.
Straight up using like the same terminology. They always like get around it. They're like Space Army Man,
Yes,
you know what we're talking about. The bad guys with the guns. You know the stake got spikes.
Space Marine is not part of this list.
Yeah, but my point is still valid.
I know. I did want to say that though, which is an interesting note.
Yeah.
Anyway, so things like that got taken down, but with the caveat that if they remove the offending items, being the name, that they'll put them right back up.
Yeah. I mean, because I think that was a lot of the problem and the issue is that they were using their like licensed terminology of like Necrons and shit.
Here's the thing: if you look at them, like the Necron Overlord model, it's the Necron Overlord model.
Oh, it's like the exact same one.
It's like the exact fucking same one, dude.
I don't know. That seems pretty close to me. I feel like... Well, but to be fair, like, a lot of 3D modelers for Star Wars have been producing stuff and content that is really high quality. But it's like, you can't really do a variation of, like, an X-Wing or an Acclamator, It's like, there's the ship that people want, and then that's it. You can't really do a variation of an Imperial Star Destroyer that's like looks third party that people would want to represent their Imperial Star Destroyer. You know what I mean?
I totally. So, well, that's a lot of going on, right? A lot of why this is important, because the outcome of what happens when this goes to court is going to dictate a lot of what's going to go on in the future of what's allowed to be on these sites. And something I actually meant to touch on before is there are a lot of Patreons that people sign up for, like that are kind of like Warhammer specific, and like basically these people like make fucking Space Marines, and if you're like a patron to them, you get the files and you get to print them.
Yeah,
like that's like the whole thing, the whole situation there. So that's kind of also in play here of whether or not things like that will get to continue, and how much like they'll have to change these models in order to comply, or hopefully they won't have to change it to be compliant and to be legal. A lot of like the mindset for 3D printing stuff is you make these files and you make them free. Not very often do you see the paid stuff because that's just not the mindset there.
Yeah.
Having a 3D printer is meant to free you from having to do that. Anytime that I have made something, you see me, I don't charge for a lot of the trays.
Yeah.
Or any of the trays that I made. Like, if someone asked me for the file, I would legit give it to them, most likely, especially if I knew them. So, there's kind of a lot of moving parts here, but it's interesting to see what the outcome is going to be with that and the effect that it has on these websites going forward and our ability to get miniatures that are good. I wonder how close.
I wonder how long until, like, one of these major companies like Warhammer and whatnot just start to kind of adapt like other companies have, like we've seen with, Netflix and other like what were previously cable-based television providers, where they just eventually join on the bandwagon and they have their own separate subscription services. Like, at what point does like Games Workshop, they just say, all right, guys, listen, you can sub to us, you can sub to our website, and then
Here's some STLs.
Here's some STLs. And these are official
That
products.
Would be great.
You can print them. You pay for this service. And if you would not like to print them yourself, these are the miniature physical models that you can still purchase. But if you've got the equipment, if you've got the know-how, you can print them. You pay either a subscription or you pay a flat fee per model design set. However much they want to fucking charge. Their prices are obnoxious, so it's hard to even guess how much they would charge for that kind of shit. But, and they just add it on. They just get more money for whatever they're doing.
How much longer until they themselves, instead of having these resin, or not resin, what is it? I don't know what the molds are made of. They're plastic. It's really good plastic, though.
It's really good plastic. It's just some high-quality plastic that they use.
But how much longer until they start just resin printing their models? Because I will say, resin printing, if you have a really nice one, you can get, I believe, better quality than you can get from a mold. And another thing that I've seen, I don't know how true this is, people kind of zooming in on some of the pictures that have been put out by Games Workshop, and you can see some of the telltale signs of it being a printed item, as opposed to it being something that was a mold.
Yeah, but that I can defend by saying, well, of course they would not make a full mold for a prototype model, and of course they would 3D print a prototype model to make sure that the pose looks good, that the weight and balance is fine, that they can paint it and, have their painters added, all that stuff. And then, use whatever program they use to, disassemble it and put it on the sheet, and use their plastic printing process to make a quadrillion model sprues for that same model. So of course they would do that. Why would they make their molds for a prototype model?
Is it a prototype if you're going to be already having it like painted on the website, though?
Yep. Yeah.
I think at that point it's well past prototype.
Nope. I totally disagree with that. Because like how far away is their production process? Is it 6 months?
Well, that's information I don't have.
Or is it 2 years?
I have
because
no idea.
I would totally be on board if someone was like, "Hey, they're 2 years ahead." And I think even like Armada, just the rule set was at least a year and a half ahead when they were in production. So I'm sure Games Workshop is at least 2 years ahead on any kind of models that they're even announcing. So yeah, having all of their media done months and months in advance, already having the painters at the model, I'm sure that just all works into having a good workflow. And yeah, I mean, why would you print your prototype model, have it painted, and then once you have the molds and the process done for mass producing them, then just take one of those and then do it all over again when everything's already done? So I totally agree with, I guess, Games Workshop for having like a resin or 3D printed model like as a media post or something. I don't think that sounds outlandish to me. Because even for FFG, all of their articles, none of that is physical product. That's all CGI. That's all 3D modeling. None of that is physical.
So I don't know. It kind of comes. They're a plastic company. Mm-hmm. It's very strange for them to essentially be using what is going to be and is currently their greatest competition. Unless they're going to be incorporating it. I don't know.
Well, they essentially did incorporate it by using a test model and then incorporating it into their process. So I think it's totally fair. I mean, but I mean FFG, like all of their articles, all of their previews showing ships and stuff, none of that was plastic. That's
It's all
all
CG.
CG.
Yeah.
That's all just test model footage that they used for their articles. So, for media, I don't even think that is that strange.
I think it's a little taboo.
I think it's actually pretty efficient.
It is efficient.
Yes.
But I think it's still taboo.
Maybe
But agree to disagree.
if the product was wildly different. But I mean, they don't even drill the barrels out of their guns on their models because it's not something that's in the product. Like like for their fucking Space Marines or their robots or whatever that they sell, none of their barrels are drilled. And obviously, that's one of like the most basic things that you would do when you're building a model, is drill out the barrels so it doesn't look like ass.
So
and
this
they
is a
know
bit of a long
this,
shot.
but they don't. They specifically don't do that because it's not on the official released product.
All right, so this is a bit of a long shot. What would you say that layer lines are?
Layer lines? Oh, like mold lines?
Mold lines, yes, but layer lines are specifically how you're able to tell that was a 3D printed model. Because
yeah,
as
but then
the
we're
resin
going
printer
back
builds
to
it,
it's just efficient for media. It's like I guess I see your point, but
it's a loose point. I'm not gonna argue it hard.
Yeah.
But again, it's that it's taboo and it's a little funky to me. And that's it.
I mean, imagine how they feel when they're using it and they're like, "Oh, we see the silver lining. Even we're doing it." But I would say that they are so far ahead in their production process that it's just wildly more efficient and beneficial for their whole production stream to just use the prototype model that they have and have it painted and have all the pictures taken and everything way beforehand, and just to not redo it just because it's a 3D printed. It seems
it's a bit of a tough call. I don't know. I feel like I would want to know more about like how their process actually works, right? What if it's like super fucking easy for them to make a fucking a 2-part mold? I don't know. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I am extrapolating on
do.
information that I have no idea how any of it works. Oh, but
Same.
also, how do you feel about this recent influx from Wes Jansen? Have you seen his stuff on?
Nope.
Do you go to Etsy real quick, or type in
All right.
Wes
Etsy.com. Oh, are you talking about all the 3D printed ships?
Yeah, Wes Jansen 3D. Ships? But he's got a lot of super.
They're fantastic. They're beautiful. I love them.
High quality.
Yes.
Resin printed. It's not 3D printed. It's resin printed, right?
It's resin. But a resin printer is a 3D printer.
Okay. Well, it's magic to me anyway. But anyway,
but it is black magic.
Like I was saying, but I bought a set of his X-wings, and
I remember. They're beautiful. They're the best.
Dude, he really needs to get a better camera because the image that he has on his website, I was looking and I was kind of debating, and I was like, I'll take a shot in the dark. Like maybe they've got the detail that I want. I kind of don't know about the size because they look like they'll be way larger than the core set X-Wing, which is the X-Wings that I have for Armada.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost look like they would be close, pushing on like some of the larger squadron size. And I'm like, the X-Wings that I have aren't that large, even though I modded them with the pins for their laser cannons.
The wire, yeah.
And when I got them...
I know how much you hate to have things that are different.
Dude, when I got them, they are so outrageously detailed that it must be black magic. But anyway, each wing has multiple like panel lines.
The cockpit, just the cockpit.
Just the cockpit. It's got the snub nose. It essentially is like a scaled down X-Wing model. Is what it is, really.
It might be.
Because it's just got such crazy detail. Dude, even the proton torpedo tubes on the sides of the nose are modeled.
That's what I was saying. It's fantastic.
It's insane.
And to be fair, he could have taken a bigger model. He could have scaled it down. That's not impossible. That's literally how you do it if you want it. I mean, to be lazy.
But like, it's incredible. He's got
custom.
some crazy shit. And this is what we were talking about earlier with Colts 3D, where he's using the exact terminology, where it's SW, Armada, blah, blah, blah ship. You know?
Is he?
With like the name and the class and everything.
He's going to get smacked.
And so it's like, God, I really like the models that I got. And I love like just the range. He did a fucking Falcon. He's doing these, they almost look like modern day kind of fighter jets, but a little sci-fi to them.
I've seen those, yep.
He's got TIE fighters that look outlandishly better than any TIE fighter in Armada right now.
They had the inside.
They've got the inside solar panel perfectly
lines.
Molded, the connecting points and everything. And so I'm like, man, I really like this. I don't want to spend all my money right away on his stuff, but like, definitely I'm considering buying
It's on the list.
a lot of his models. And I don't want this site or this store to go away just because of some weird terminology issue.
And then like if you have to change it, like how do people find it? It's tough.
I don't know, but he's been posting a lot on the Facebook, so I think people are especially aware of his site. But I don't know, I would really like him to do, or to just continue doing what he's doing, because he keeps posting fighters and stuff and they're fucking amazing.
Yeah, I love them. The ships look really, really excellent. And honestly, like for Rebels, because it's such a ragtag fleet, everything is supposed to be different. I feel like this adds needed variation to bring the realism to where I want it to be.
Yeah. And it like gets me in the mindset of like just thinking of how ships or squadrons could be, you know, because once you see it, you're like, oh, that's right, that's how big it is. I mean, what role would it fill? Like, when I look at these Nantex starfighters, you know, and I'm like, how could they have a cool, unique role in Armada? We've already got swarm ships out the ass. So what role could they fill? Maybe they could be the filler for what really hurts Separatist squadrons, which is counter. Counter really fucks over a lot of my vultures all the time. So what if these Nantex fighters had like generic snipe? They got snipe 3. But instead of having their own anti-squadron armament, they don't have any anti-squadron armament, is my point. And instead they only have counter 2. So they've got snipe really cool. 3 or 4 and counter 2. So they can't actually, you don't want them to engage and shoot a squadron. Like, they can't lock it down on their own because they have no anti-squadron armament. So why would you move them in to engage unless you're really desperate?
Yeah.
And if they do get locked down, well, their armament's weaker now. They've got counter 2 only. They don't have snipe 3 or whatever long range attack they've got, you know? And I think that could make a really unique kind of outside on the borders fighter and not overlap with any roles that are already being filled. Because, let me tell you, the Separatists do not need another class of fighter for the squadrons. I think the Vulture fighter is the best fighter in the game. For sure.
I don't have one. It's my favorite, just from the movies in general. So I would agree with that.
It's
not
the
even
best,
based off
it's
of
the
its
most
performance.
efficient. It's just an unstoppable killer. It's so good because you activate it and it's got blue, black, black. It's fucking incredible. With Swarm, it has everything. It does so much damage. And so it's hard to think of a role for the Nantex that isn't something weird and unique like that, where them not having an anti-squadron armament and instead having only counter and then snipe for their actual attack. So they've got to be away. They've got to be on the edge. They've got to be just picking off what they can and try not get locked down. And that way, the vultures can all swarm on the target you want to lock down, and the Nantex can pick off and add to that.
I just kind of play that back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. But I really like a lot of the 3D modeling stuff that's been going on recently.
And I hope
It's
it
super
stays.
interesting.
I hope it stays. But yeah, anyways, yeah, this Colts and Games Workshop Citadel situation, they're all kind of connected there. So hopefully we should follow it and kind of keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
All right, so those are all the topics. I'm going to move on to the closing statements here. Definitely, thanks for listening to this episode of the Brace for Impact podcast. You can check out our battle reports and other video content on our YouTube channel, and if you would like, you can support future content and get early access to videos and podcasts on our Patreon. Let's thank our patron, our singular patron. Last name is Langford. What was the first name, Chandler? Jason Langford. Big thank you for letting us do what we do.
I wonder if he knows he still subscribes to us.
Let's not remind him, but thank you.